Okay, hey everyone, welcome back to another pick a card reading on my channel. Today's pick a card reading is all about self-love and what can you do to promote self-love within yourself, or just some happy feel-good feelings, messages I should say, to make you feel good about yourself today. Maybe there's some people out there who need that type of message today. So it's basically what do you need to know right now to help you feel that lovey-dovey feeling about yourself, or maybe just acceptance about yourself, whatever it may be. So we have 3 piles to choose from today. We have the adorable heart-shaped crystals, which are so cute. We have the amethyst heart-shaped crystal for pile 1. We have the opal heart-shaped crystal for pile 2. Sorry, I can't talk. Acceptance. And then we have the rose quartz heart-shaped crystal for pile 3. So if you are new to pick a card readings, basically what you're going to want to do is just really dig deep within yourself and really lean into your own intuition and rely on that inner voice inside of you that's really drawing you towards one particular pile. Of course, if you're drawn to multiple piles, that's totally normal. Feel free to watch both or all of those videos. There might be some messages in there for you. If you don't need some time if you're already aware of which pile you're most drawn to, those timestamps will be linked below. Otherwise, I'll give you a few moments. Feel free to pause the video, just to kind of, again, if you need more time, if you want to meditate on the piles, just so that you can get the one or, really find the pile that you most resonate with. And I'm excited to dive into this reading today. I think there's a lot of love readings out in the universe right now, but I don't know that there's a ton about self-love. So really looking forward to seeing what the cards have to say in each pile. So so we have 3 piles, like I said, some oracle cards, some tarot cards. All of the decks will be linked below as well. And I will see you over there in your pile. Bye. Okay, hey there, pile ones. Welcome to your pick a card reading, all about cultivating those feelings of self-love. We're going to be taking a look at some tarot cards, some oracle cards, and then we're going to end your reading with these healing mantras just to get some final messages on how you can, we're just celebrate you today, basically. How can you feel really, really good about yourself today? So if you chose the amethyst heart-shaped crystal, then this reading is for you. So let's see what your tarot cards, I think you guys actually got the most tarot cards. I was trying to pull 5 for each pile. I think you got 6. So let's see what the universe has to say. What are we going to be celebrating pile 1 today? What are your strengths? So we have the 4 of coins, the 2 of cups, you have the 2 of swords, the 3 of wands, the ace of swords, and then finally, which I'm thinking I'm going to have to zoom out for because you guys have, again, like I said, 6 cards, not 5. Sometimes an extra card comes out and I wasn't feeling like I felt like I really should take it. So let me just adjust this a bit so we can see the world there for you. Cool. All right. So pile 1. So all about cultivating those feelings of self-love. I feel like you might be someone who has experienced a lot in life and maybe, like across the board, like maybe you've experienced I almost feel like this is like a mature pile, if I can, like someone who has lived like a full life or just because you have like the world at the end of your reading, like it's almost like you've experienced a cycle or several cycles, or maybe that's even just like your soul is like an old soul, like you've experienced many lifetimes. So you sort of have that like aura of like, I know I can go to pile one because I know that there'll be sort of like this solid advice. Like, even if you don't even feel that yourself, like, it's like people come to you for advice because they just feel like they can trust you, or they feel like you've been through what they've been through. Like I feel like maybe in a past life, like you maybe had to sort of like work your way out of like many different things, honestly. Like I think it's about like working your way out of like a difficult financial situation, and maybe you had to in a past life like find the strength to do that. Maybe you have a lot of experience in sort of like managing or working through different partnerships or relationships as a result. Like I feel like it's just in general, like the feeling that I'm getting is that you're very wise because you've experienced a lot. And I think you're at a place where you're very comfortable with that. Like maybe that's even like your profession even too. Like maybe you offer advice to people, or maybe you're like a motivational speaker because you've experienced so much in your life, or you've just always carried that aura and that energy with you, that you've experienced so much in life that like people really trust you and come to you for advice, for help, for a lot of different things, honestly, is like what I'm seeing. Like, maybe you can offer a lot of like financial advice, relationship advice, career advice. Maybe you help people navigate difficult situations in terms of making a decision about like finances or relationships, or even like career and like passion. I think you have a lot of just naturally like a lot of like thoughts on all of these subjects. And again, that could come from like past lives where you've experienced a lot of different things, and that has sort of like given your soul the wisdom it needs now to like be so wise in a way. So it's like interesting. Like I do see you sort of like offering like a lot of it. Maybe you're like even like someone on TikTok who like offers like advice in many different ways, or you're sort of like a therapist in that way, where you offer a lot of like digital support is like something that I also kind of feel, because I don't feel necessarily like people are coming to you, like they might be coming to you like in person, like one-on-one, but there's a sense of like a screen like in between you and this person or these people. And I think that also gives you a lot of your superpower, because it sort of like breaks down, like it feels more just like coming from your heart than having to like console someone like one-on-one, if that makes sense. But yeah, I do feel like your superpower is for sure like the fact that you have experienced a lot in this lifetime and then also in previous lifetimes, and that your superpower is your resiliency. And that's like really amazing. Like not a lot of people have that ability. Like if, I get the sense that like because of this, you were able to form like really positive relationships in your life. Maybe even like in this time come into partnership with your soulmate, if that resonates with you. And I think it just comes from the fact that like you've had to make a lot of decisions. You've had to, work through difficult financial times. Maybe you've had to work through difficult relationships to get to where you are now. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's almost like you're very experienced and very, very wise. And I think that is your true superpower, which is like completely awesome, honestly. Like a lot of people don't have that experience or even that stoicism to be that person for someone else. And it feels very like healing in a sense, because you have the strength and you've been through a lot. Maybe like it feels like very solid and stable. Like you feel like a rock to me. You know what I mean? Like or whoever's energy that I'm sort of picking up on. And I think you're also really good at a lot of different things. Like you can wear a lot of different hats, and people can come at work, can come to you with a lot of different like projects on like various different topics, because they know that you can handle it. And I think that you're also very like wise with your words is something else that I'm kind of feeling. Like you come up with a lot of insights and a lot of ideas that are insightful or like really practical. Um, but also like you have the ability to like reel people in a sense in that way. Like you sort of just like walk in a room and are sort of like you capture like the eyes and the hearts of people very easily because of you are like that pillar of strength and you have like this almost like stoic sort of energy about you. That it's almost like all eyes are on you because you give off this sense of like knowledge and power and confidence, honestly, because it comes from a place of having the experience of having many different aspects of your life that you've had to personally work through. And maybe you've had to do that on your own in some cases, and that's what gives you the ability to be so wise. But I definitely think that you have like this way of words and the way that you think that maybe like other people in your immediate circle don't. And that's sort of your superpower too, is like combining that with your strength and stability. It really just puts you in this position of like being like, I'm not saying that you put yourself on a pedestal, but I think you often get put on a pedestal because you're almost like, like an enigma. Like it's almost like in a positive way. Like it's almost like mysterious on how you're able to navigate tricky times so well and how you're able to make such clear-cut decisions and how you're able to be so wise is kind of mysterious for some people, I think. And it's amazing. And I think what's interesting to me is because you do have the world and because you have experienced a lot and maybe you have a lot of positive relationships in your life or like one relationship in your life, which is really great. I think maybe a part of you is sort of like wondering like what's next for you because you have experienced so much and you maybe are aware that you are this way. I think you may be at the end of a particular cycle, and I think what's next is going to be very fulfilling, and maybe you're going to start to feel like you're like almost like the beginner at it. Like it's something that you haven't experienced yet. So you get to be sort of like the beginner of it. And I think it's going to come from a very clear idea that you have. And I think it is going to be a little bit creative. So, which is just, it's really great. But I think just to kind of like bump you up a bit, I really do think that your superpower and how you can really give yourself a little bit more credit is the fact that like you have a skill set that not a lot of people have. You have the ability to work through emotions, to think clearly about different ideas or different things and bring a lot of different perspectives to the table. And I think that that is something that a lot of people don't have the ability to do. So let's take a look at your Work Your Light Oracle cards and see what messages we have for you today here. Okay. So what can kind of like help when I was pulling these cards, I was really just kind of like asking like pile ones, like higher self, like what would their higher self tell them to help them feel more love for themselves. So you have get grounded, empaths, highly sensitives, connect with nature. Which is kind of interesting because you have like a lot of like nature-esque cards here. It's almost like feeling grounded. Like this person on the Two of Swords is like coming out of the water kind of in a sense, coming out of the turbulent water here, as well as like the Four of Coins, obviously like in this wintry scene. But I think it's important to also like feel that grounded energy. I think will help you reconnect with yourself a bit and help you really see the beauty in your sort of unique skill set that you have. So that's really, really beautiful. And then you also have mirror, who or what is triggering you. And maybe you're here today because of that exactly. Like maybe you've been in a position where you're sort of like doubting yourself and your abilities. Like maybe someone in your life or your personal life is a little bit intimidated by your ability to shine so bright and to be so just like I'm picturing like this Ace of Swords as being like very like just like straightforward, just like clear and straightforward, and that can be intimidating for some people, especially if they don't have that skill set. But I think don't let anybody sort of like trigger you into those feelings of self-doubt, because like I said, like they might have their own sort of like superpower that they need to sort of like discover. And I think that it's about sort of like working together in a sense. Like If this message is resonating for whoever this message is for, like, I'm kind of picturing it in like a work situation where like you have like these amazing ideas and someone keeps like shooting them down because they're a little bit intimidated by how like intelligent they are, like in a sense, like not them, like your ideas, like how intelligent your ideas are. And it's really coming from a place for you, from a place of experience, whereas, they're feeling a little bit intimidated by that. And it can be a little bit triggering and maybe causing some feelings of self-doubt within yourself. So, and maybe like by getting grounded and sort of meditating a bit, or, going for a walk outside in nature, like that'll help you sort of like realize that that person might just be going through feelings of self-doubt themselves, which can be intimidating. So let's get some messages, some healing mantras, just some quick messages on more feelings of how you can cultivate self-love. Oh my gosh, I do not need approval from others. So funny, because I feel like that's literally what I just described with this, like, who is triggering you. Yeah, I mean, like I said, like, if there is somebody like that out there in your life right now, like, don't let them bring you down. You know what I mean? Like, come from a place of stoicism and don't let your own emotional drivers sort of like affect how you interact with that person. You know what I mean? Like, you don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, even if they're shooting your ideas down, like, your ideas are great. You're great. That you have the experience to make this work if it is a work project or something like that. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks, because you've experienced a lot in your life and you were able to come out of some difficult times in your life, and that is your superpower, and you don't care anymore what anybody else thinks of you. Okay, you also have what I look like does not define me, so that's interesting. As well as I will not feel guilty for what I eat. So hopefully, you're not going through any feelings of, what you look like in this sense. Because I was really thinking of this more of like from like the mind kind of like perspective. But I mean, we're all human, and I know this, if this could be like a stressful situation with this person at work. So you might be sort of like also taking a look at yourself in many other aspects and not just like of the mind. So I think it's important to really sort of like lean on this message is like, you don't need approval from others in any aspect of your life, whether it's what you look like, obviously like what you eat, what you look like I said, your ideas are good, even if anybody else shoots them down. Like that's just kind of like, I think it's really realizing that you have that superpower, and like, that is what makes you unique. I think that's what's really kind of like the message here, and like where you can kind of like really dig in deep and find those feelings of self-love for yourself. Okay, pile one. Those are all the messages I have for you today. I hope that this resonated and helped in some way. Stay tuned for more videos, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Okay, hey there, pile two. If you chose the opal heart-shaped crystal, then this reading is for you. So like I said in the intro, in today's pick a card reading, we are sort of diving deep within ourselves to, like in pile one, find your superpower and find what it is that you can love more about yourself, whether it be that superpower or maybe something else that you weren't even aware of, that you can feel more, cultivate those feelings of self-love, I guess I should say. Okay, so in today's reading, I'm going to start with your tarot cards, and then we'll get into the Work Your Light Oracle cards, and then finally we'll finish with these healing mantras just to get some final messages on, what it is that you can do to feel more self-love for yourself. So let's go ahead and get started with your tarot. I'm using the Fountain Tarot deck today. So you have the Nine of Wands. You have the King of Wands. You have the Five of Coins. You have the High Priestess. And finally, you have the Knight of Coins. Okay, so first off, pile two, I genuinely am getting the sense that you're someone who is willing to help out no matter what. And then your superpower is within that. You don't necessarily like give up yourself in doing that. It's almost like there's so much like light coming from these cards, and I'm almost picturing you as being like the High Priestess, like regardless of gender, where you're just sort of this like person who's like shines so bright when they walk into a room, and you have this like creative, like sexy energy, and you're just sort of shining your light wherever you go. It's almost like you're like that really pretty person who walks in a room and everyone's like, who's that? And I feel like but not only that, like, it's like, I almost feel like it's like you emit this like warmth to people where, like, especially like here, it's like, even if someone's not in like a time of need specifically, it's like maybe like their soul might be feeling down, and like your own presence in that person's life is just so bright and warm and cheerful that it makes them feel better about themselves. I also feel like you're someone who is very creative, and also a little bit spiritual as well. And I think that that's what also gives you this sort of like bright, warm, light feeling like when you walk in a room, because people like almost like look to you for that sort of, I don't want to say like immediate guidance. Like, I don't know that you're necessarily, and maybe you are, but I don't know that you're necessarily someone who's like walking in and like spewing spiritual facts or, whatever. But I think that you're seen as someone who is very like attractive on the surface level, but then also attractive on a deeper level as well, where, you have these experiences where maybe you don't even understand them yourself, because it could be coming from like your own soul and like what your own soul has experienced, like very similar to pile one, like in a past life or something like that. But I do feel like you sort of have this like ability to like warm or bright up a room whenever you walk in. And I think that like within like that creative energy that you have, like you're very good at like problem solving kind of. And that's what kind of like makes people see you as very like, like a creative problem solver, I guess. You know what I mean? Like you'd be put on the task to like figure out like the most complicated problem, or like, how to untie this knot, whatever that looks like literally, or even like in a workplace situation where it's like, how do we solve this problem? They might come to you and sort of like ask for help in that way. And I think you often are able to deliver on that, and you sort of like give a lot of stability is like kind of like what I'm seeing. Like it's stable, it's bright, it's positive. Like you are that person for sure. And I think that you are just sort of this like fluid, like spiritual person, and you're very wise as well. So it's actually really, really, really nice to see, because I do think that you offer, like, your superpower really is in your warmth. And I think that it's really healing for a lot of people. Like I said, you bright up a room, and people perceive you, I think, probably a lot better than you perceive yourself, if I'm being honest. Like, I think you might even know that you're a really good creative problem solver, but like you're like, yeah, like I'm just like doing my thing. And then other people are like, no, like we see you as like the best, like top of your game kind of thing. And that probably has like given you a lot of financial or like career opportunities as well, because people are like, like we believe you. Like maybe you're like someone who like gets every single job that they interview for or something like that, or like you always win the lottery. Like you're just always so like positive, you know what I mean? And I think that is something that also a lot of people don't have, like where you just see the positive in everything. Like even in a bad situation, you're like, okay, yeah, but it's not that bad. Like, or, but we can like work our way out of this problem, or like, but we can do this. So I think if you are feeling a little bit down about yourself now or in the future, I think you should really like lean in on that and really know that that's what you bring to the table, and like that's what people look to you for, even if they're not willing to like outwardly admit that. Because it's a really beautiful thing. And I think that, it's important for someone in a friend group or in a relationship or in a workplace setting or just life in general to bring that sort of like positive, creative energy. It's so important. I think that's your biggest superpower. Also, I don't know why I feel the need to tell you this, but I think that like opal, because you chose the opal crystal, is really popular, or a very I don't want to say like popular, but it's mainly found in Australia, I believe. So I don't know if like Australia has anything to do with your own life, but just something to take note. And I just kind of like noticed that and like just thought of it. So maybe that's that. Okay, so you have 2 Work Your Light Oracle cards, which we're going to get some confirmation messages. When I pulled these 2 cards, I really tried to ask the deck of like, what would pile 2's higher self tell them to cultivate more feelings of self-love. So you have inner temple, devotion, tune into the portal of your heart. And then you also got the initiation, rite of passage, crossing the threshold. So I think that's really interesting that you got that, because it's almost like a direct conflict of, not conflict, but it's almost like people might see you as like this like warm energy. And I'm just starting to realize that I don't know if you necessarily see yourself that way. And I think that in sort of like discovering this fact about yourself, like I think that's going to help you become even more like more bright. And you know what I mean? Like not bright, like intelligence wise, but just like your aura will become brighter, and it will almost like enhance that sort of superpower that I was talking about earlier. But I think that in feelings of self-doubt that you might be having right now, and maybe why you're here, because this is about like, how can you love yourself more? I think that's what it is. I think you need to sort of like realize, you know, I mean, in a humbling way, like just realize what you bring to the room, or like what you bring to the table is, it's so warm and so bright, and it makes people feel like so warm and so loved. And I think a lot of people trust you in that way. But even if you don't feel that about yourself, it's kind of like, if you can look within yourself and again, like tune into the portal of your heart, you know, I think you'll find that light. Cause I mean, look at it. She has like that light at the center of her. So it's like, I think that's kind of like what it's about, is like finding that light, and you'll find your way through maybe these feelings of self-doubt, which is kind of like what I'm seeing here with this initiation card. So that's really interesting. So let's see what healing mantras you have today. I'll link all of these decks below as well. By the way, I'm using the Fountain Tarot, the Work Your Light Oracle deck, and then the Healing Mantras Self-Love deck. So, oh my God. Okay, so you have these negative feelings are only temporary. So I think that's really kind of like what we're feeling here, is like maybe you sort of like lost sight of like your inner light in a sense. Not that it's not there anymore, but maybe it's just like a little bit dimmed. So I think it's important to really sort of like tune into that portal of your own heart, and just know that like don't focus on the fact that like, oh yeah, see like with the 5 of coins too, like your light isn't dimmed. It's still there, you know? And this might be you now. So it's kind of like tune into your intuition, and you'll soon find that light again. And like, this is only temporary. It's not forever. You're going to make it through to the other side. And I think it's sort of realizing your own inner light and your own heart. You also have, I am exactly where I am meant to be. So maybe you're going through some feelings right now of like, you know, maybe you're sort of just like doubting the journey. Like, yeah, like I have the superpower. I'm so warm and so bright and so creative, and I'm a great problem solver and whatnot. But it's sort of like, maybe you're just going through a period right now where you're sort of like doubting that, which is totally fair. I mean, you're human, right? So I think it's important to know that like, even through these feelings of self-doubt or negative feelings, if you're going through something negative right now about yourself, you know that it's only temporary. Know that you are where you're meant to be, and it's going to work out in your favor, because you always figure it out. You're a creative problem solver, and people see you this way. And then you also have, I will not worry about what people think of me. So yeah, I think that though most people do see you as being super positive, and you know, maybe you're here because sometimes when people shine so brightly, it intimidates other people who don't. And I think a lot of times people who do shine really brightly, like I said earlier, like you are human, and like if you are feeling that can still like dim your light. I think it's important just to like remember though, is that like your light is your light, and you cannot change who you are, and you need to still bring that every single day, because it's who you are, and it's what people need. And I think it's what you need too. I think once you can kind of like get back to yourself a little bit, I think a lot of these feelings of self-doubt and what people think of you, and you know, this is only temporary. Like the card says, it's not going to be forever. So yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's about like finding your light again, and it's there, and it's so bright, and I can't wait for you to find it again, or to turn it up like just a little bit brighter, you know, and maybe it's like baby steps, like tune into your heart and find what makes you tick and like who you are, turn that up a notch, and just keep turning it up until you're yourself again, despite like maybe if you're going through a tough time right now with other people in your life. I think your light is still there. It's just dimmed, and it has the potential to shine so bright, either for the first time or again, because I think that you bring a lot to the table. So So, okay, pile 2, those are all the messages I have for you today. I hope this helped. I hope this resonated. And stay tuned for more videos, and I'll see you then. Bye. Okay, what's up, pile 3? If you chose the rose quartz crystal, then this pile is for you. So as I said, in the intro, we're going to be taking a look at a few different cards today. So I have 2 oracle cards, tarot cards, and then we're going to end your reading with these healing mantras to get some messages about how you can cultivate those feelings of self-love. One of the themes that's been coming out in some of the other piles is kind of like, what's your superpower? So I'm looking forward to that theme coming up for you as well, because I think that's really like where the feelings of self-love are going to come from the most, just sort of like recognizing what it is that makes you unique and like what it is that brings you, what am I trying to say? What it is that you bring to the table. There you go. For me, it's not speaking, apparently. Okay, so to start off your reading, you have Temperance. You have the 4 of Cups. You have the 4 of Swords. You have Death. And you have the Page of Wands. Okay. Pile 3. So I really, like, off the bat, I kind of get the sense that you're someone who has the ability to transform easily. Like, it's almost like you almost get to a point within yourself where you're like over yourself, and you sort of like have this like shapeshifter ability to really sort of like transform or shift that energy and like bring balance back in. So it's almost like if you have these feelings of being low, then you are able to recognize that and change. Like, I don't think that you're someone who sits in misery for very long before you're like, okay, yeah, great, we're feeling sad, but like time to get moving. And I think you have that ability to sort of like bring effective change and balance into your life, because it's almost like you see it as like moments of feeling down or just like feeling sad isn't necessarily like a definition of who you are, but rather sort of like the fluidity of life. You know, like sometimes you might be happy, sometimes you might be sad, but you allow yourself to feel those emotions without letting it define you, which I think is insanely awesome. And then also you have the ability to shift that energy yourself, which honestly, if we're going in the theme of a superpower, is really powerful, because a lot, like I said, I keep saying in the other 2 videos, and in this, like I said, the theme of this reading has become like, what's your superpower? But I think it's sort of like, if you want to really understand like how to love yourself more, I think it's like recognizing that that is a superpower. Like being able to shift your energy out of a dark place, or out of feeling of stagnation or feeling low or whatever it is, or like boredom or overthinking, having the ability to do that yourself, I mean, that is incredible. Like not everyone can do that, myself included. So, you know, I applaud you, pile 3, for having that ability. Having said that, I also think that either it's you as well, or maybe somebody else who's watching this. I mean, there's two different interpretations here. Is that you have the ability, I think I said at the beginning of the reading, to really sort of like transform yourself, which is cool, because it's almost like Madonna. You know what I mean? It might be like a really old school reference, and I apologize. But like how she was able to like just like transform herself like at the drop of a hat kind of thing. Like you're like, oh no, like I'm into this activity. Like maybe like one day you're into ballet, and then all of a sudden you're like into archery. It's like 2 different things, but they're still somehow like uniquely you. And because of that, you have the ability to just sort of like shift, like shape shift into, I don't even say like that new person, because it's always you. Like you at your core don't change, but it's like you have the ability to transform your life and like what it is that you do, and like all these different things. Like you're very like fluid in that way. And honestly, I think very creative too. I feel like as I'm reading your pile, I have like these insane feelings of like energy. Like I feel like I just drank like 7 cups of coffee, and I am like, all right, like let's do it. Let's make some changes. Like let's go. So I think that's kind of like you, is that you're almost like that, like the rising of the phoenix kind of, where like maybe even with each transformation you become stronger and you become wiser. And you know, like that moment, it's like if you think of like the rising of the phoenix, it's like like, wow, like this person or this bird is like coming out of the flames and they made it through some difficult times and now look at them, they're so majestic. I think that's you, honestly. I think because you're a creative person, I think that you have the ability to just like completely transform yourself and completely shift, shift yourself, like in what it is that you're into. I'm gonna fix the camera a bit because it's kind of all over the place today. So yeah, pile 3. I like want to be your friend. You're cool. Because I think also one thing is that like maybe even I've been sort of like another like theme of like the reading overall today and all like the different piles is that I think like it's like kind of like what you bring to the table and how other people perceive you. And I think that one thing that other people perceive you as is exactly that. Like I think people see you as someone who doesn't stay in low periods of your life for very long, and like you have the ability to like bring balance to like a situation, which is kind of like interesting because we have like this feeling of like constant change, which doesn't to me feel very balanced, but somehow you balance it very, very well. So I think that's like a unique superpower that you bring to the table, and I think people really look to you for that kind of like passionate, creative energy, really. Okay, so let's take a look at your oracle cards. Today I'm using the Work Your Light Oracle deck, and when I pulled these cards, I really asked, I really asked the question of like, what would pile 3's higher self tell them to help them love themselves more? So let's see what your higher self has to say. So you have trust the niggle. What is that niggling feeling trying to tell you? And I think that really comes from in here. Like I think when you're in these feelings of being low or maybe like I said, like you are very like keen to the ebbs and flows of life. So it's like when you're in an ebb, like you get that feeling like within yourself of like, okay, something's got to change. We got to do something. So like you're really good at trusting your gut on that. And I think that you're really good at like maybe you're here like watching this because maybe you're in this space right now. So it's like a reminder from your higher self that you have this superpower and you have this ability to transform, to shift yourself out of negative places. So like trust yourself in that. Like if you kind of get that sort of like inner feeling right now of like, ugh, something's got to go, something's got to change. I think that's what this is really trying to suggest to you. So then we have break the chain, ancestral patterns, healing, rewriting the future. And yeah, I think this just kind of like goes back to what I was saying about how I just genuinely feel like you are like the queen or king or, whatever of change. You really have this ability to sort of like transform yourself and to like break patterns and to heal and to like, I don't think that you're a person necessarily that thinks like something is set in stone. And I think that's really, really beautiful, honestly. Okay, let's get some healing mantras and just kind of see what these final messages have to say to help you love yourself a little bit more, pile 3. I think pile 3, you are like the least low, if that makes sense. Like I feel like you are like already know like what to do to like make yourself feel like you love yourself a little bit more, but like you're here for just some confirmation kind of thing. Like I think you got it. But let's just see what these have to say. So we have I will not compare myself to others. And yeah, I don't think that you do necessarily. I think that this is kind of something that, that goes along with like your ability to transform and to change is that you don't really like to compare yourself to others. Like you're kind of like that free spirit in a sense. I think this is kind of like a boundary that you have with yourself. And then you have, I deserve better. And maybe this is like also why you're here too. Like maybe you're sort of like in this feeling of like self-doubt a little bit and you're kind of feeling low, but you need to kind of like, in the past, like you've done this before. So like you've changed, you've broken patterns, you've healed. And I think it comes from a place of like deep knowing that you feel better. You feel better, that you deserve better, which you do. I think, would not argue with you on that. I think everyone deserves better for themselves. And I do not regret my past. And again, I think that all of these cards here are really sort of speaking to the way that you feel as you go through your moments of transformation and change is sort of like there's no regret. It doesn't come from a place of like changing out of fear that like you are a certain way or you're not a certain way. I don't think that it comes from a place of regret. I think it's truly just who you are as a creative, fluid person to transform yourself into something new. And I think that's completely awesome. And I think that is your unique superpower for sure. So if you are having any feelings of self-doubt, I think if you need some feelings of self-love or like how to cultivate self-love in your life, I think that's it. Know that being able to transform is a superpower and you have that naturally. So go with it. So, okay, pile 3, these are all the messages I have for you today. I hope that this helped and resonated. Stay tuned for more readings on my channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.